Yo, 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 it's your boy Drew from the Digilogue. What's up, everybody? It's episode 3 of our new podcast series, The L's, aka Lessons Learned. Super excited because we just launched this series. As if you don't know, the Digilogue, is a music and tech education platform. We've been traveling across the U.S., doing master classes, panel discussions, meetups, and we built an amazing community. And our overall goal has always been to connect the creative community across the world. So I'm super excited because I have not only my friend, but an amazing guest featured tonight, my boy Trenton Pratt.
What's
Round
good?
of applause for Trenton. Happy Friday,
good?
bro.
Happy Friday, man. We here. I'm excited to be
here. You
here.
repping.
I am, man. It's a St. Louis thing wherever I go. And y'all got to know that. I know you big Queens, but this St. Louis.
Queens, New York.
Yeah.
No, you're from St. Louis, though, right?
Yes, a great place. Obviously, people there will be like, I'm hyping it up.
Right.
But you appreciate it more when you're not there. It's a city that taught me hustle. STL is in the word hustle, and that's one of the things we say. You can't spell hustler without the STL.
Facts.
And that, really instilled in me. I learned my work ethic definitely from the city.
Crazy. It's crazy how music, when I think it was like early 2000s, like the first song I heard from St. Louis is Country Grammar.
Oh, a classic that every St. Louisan can rap word from word. That is a classic album. I don't care what nobody says.
No,
now I'm finna stand for Nelly because Nelly is like one of the greats. Like he outsold a lot of people and did a lot. You know what I'm saying? So from music to fashion. Yeah. Y'all got to give Nelly his props.
He's a legend.
Yeah, 10 toes down from the city.
Yes. So for some context for our audience, so Trenton, you do music programming at BET. Mm-hmm. So we've actually featured him at our past panels. He was at our panel at Dolby Space in September with some great, amazing people. And you've always just been like a huge supporter. I remember a couple of times, like at events, we were also connected too, just outside of Digilogue, just through work. Mm-hmm. When I was at Def Jam, we've programmed, some of our artists, Danny Lay, that was featured.
Mm-hmm. Doing some Rhapsody work.
Yeah, BT Premiere and Rhapsody. So it's great how everything kind of comes in full circle.
I know, man. It's great. I'm excited, to be a part of this. And I tell you this off record all the time, but I appreciate you for creating this platform.
Appreciate it.
And I'm always, I'm always here to support, man, because, these things help me for sure to get to where I am. So I'm going to always give back. And you're great. You'll receive a lot of blessings for what you're doing for a lot of people.
Thank you.
If you don't know, it's going to come tenfold to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
So, the whole premise about Lessons Learned, the L's, isn't necessarily to talk about, highlighting our like downfalls, but really celebrating, what we learned from them. Mm-hmm. So for me, for each guest, I really want to dive into like the genesis of like how you got started. You're from St. Louis, now you're in New York for like how many years now?
It's 3 now.
3 years, wow. Mm-hmm. And I remember from the panel, like the journey just to get to that point. I remember you mentioned about just moving without a plan. But I'm not going to go into that. But let's backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
And just, how you, really became passionate about music, how that kind of came about, and then, we can kind of dive into the details.
You ready to get into the ratchet shit?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. So music, man, like I would say what I tell people is I grew up as a music industry kid. And what that means is like I didn't have any family in the music industry, but I was obsessed with it since I was little. I mean, everybody read the album liner notes, the thank yous, who worked on this project, when did this album come out, who wrote the song, who produced it. Right. Man, this is a dope song. It should be the single. And then 2 weeks later, you hear it on the radio, like, oh shit, it is the single. Damn, I wonder how a video will look for this. That was me from the moment I was a kid. I mean, literally hating getting out the car when we got home because my favorite song was going to cut off the radio. Really? To whereas, now you could just keep playing the shit when you get out the car. Right. So that was always with me. Obviously, I had traditional parents and traditional people around you, where as in St. Louis, anything as far as the music industry seems far-fetched because there's no ecosystem there to create it. Like you said, we didn't see our first superstar to Nelly, and that was 2001 when Country Grammar dropped. So literally, I kind of shied away from that and start trying to obtain things that were more realistic by basically listening to people who were older than me. You know, the things we hear, you know, that's a once in a lifetime chance. 1 out of 1 million people make it in the music industry, and a lot of discouraging things that I fell privy to and started to believe. So fast track to me graduating high school, the youngest of 4 in my house. And at the time, there was a lot of pressure on me to succeed.
Imagine,
Yeah, because it didn't happen like that, I would say, for other people in my family to make it to that point, to graduate and to have the opportunity to go to university to get a 4-year degree. Like, so some of those things didn't seem attainable because a lot of people didn't do it. So I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Shit. Damn, I done gave y'all a diploma. Y'all want me to do some more shit? I got to go to college? For real? I'm done. But no, I was like, okay, what can I do as a black male and get a job and society would deem this as successful? I was like, okay, I'm going to be a teacher. What the fuck am I doing teaching? And I enrolled in it. The school that I enrolled into, the illustrious Harris-Stowe State University, which is an HBCU, was big in education, and it was a school in Missouri. I decided to stay home because if I left, I was gonna wild the fuck out. I was gonna be partying. I was gonna flunk out. So I stayed home, and basically going through that period of going through early childhood education, he was like, all right, I'm gonna get there. It started getting around to my junior year when it's time to take the test and shit, and I found out like I'm really not passionate about this, and I got super duper depressed. To whereas I made a very rash decision and was like, I'm just going to change my major and I'm going to go after what I want to do, which is music. And obviously that put me in school 2 years longer because I switched my major in my junior year, and we didn't have a music industry program in St. Louis at the school. So I switched to marketing, which was the closest thing. And from there, I don't want to say things kind of lined up, but they did. And I think it's the book, The Alchemist, when you want something so bad, like the universe conspires to help you achieve that. So I just hopped on Indeed, music industry, St. Louis, and just was searching for jobs and opportunities to where at the time I wasn't so knowledgeable about the music industry, and I found something that said Red. I'm like, Red? It's a label. Click on it, apply, and now we all know that Red is under Sony. So when I got that call to interview, I was just thinking it's gonna be Red, and it turned out to be Sony Music Entertainment. And I had a couple of round of interviews there, and ended up getting a job as a college marketing rep in St. Louis under Sony. And what that entails is you're kind of like a mini product manager for the label. So whatever is happening in St. Louis in regards to music, you are the person for that. The listening sessions, the meet and greets, all of that you're pretty much doing. Yes, recapping the shows. So I thought I was the man on campus. I still got it to this day. And somebody showed it to me not too long ago, a year ago. It was like, yo, man, I had your business card when you was at Sony. And I thought I was the man with that shit. And essentially from there, my goal was to do everything I can before I graduate. B, conquer multiple industries. So once I got that job at Sony, I was like, okay, what else can I do? I went into radio. I did street team for the radio station, CBS in St. Louis. And from there, I was like, oh, shit, what else can I do next? Oh, I'm finna get into journalism. So Alive magazine is the premier fashion magazine in St. Louis. So I helped put on St. Louis Fashion Week by interning there. And I also got into promotions for a film under Allied Integrated Marketing. So I did all of this shit. I was a fucking Superman at the time.
All at the same time.
All of this at the same time.
Kudos
in college
to you for that. college while studying.
Yes, studying and joining my fraternity, which is crazy. I had a very rough year when I was doing that. And it's funny, my friends used to be like, yo, you got 10,000 jobs. You know what I mean? And it would be times where I literally would like get like maybe 1 or 2 hours of sleep and then go right to work and do that shit all over again. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. I mean, speaking of that, like, where did that kind of drive come from? Like, wanting to do multiple things.
Man, I'm so glad you asked that, because I have to say this. A lot of people have superheroes. My superhero is my mother.
Yeah.
That woman is Superwoman. We all got mamas. Everybody in this room, you got a mama. I know you love your mama.
I'm a mama's boy.
But I love my mama. Yeah. All right? My mama is the queen. Yes. I'm going to say this, no offense, but the greatest motherfucker walking the planet is my mama. It was 4 of us, that were biologically, and I say biologically, her kids, because she took on more than just us.
Wow.
And I remember her working 2 to 3 jobs ever since I was little. My mom never had one job. To this day, she still doesn't have one.
Crazy.
And seeing that was enough for me, you know what I mean, to understand what it takes to work and sacrifice. And we all growing now. Imagine, when you get home, your ass don't feel like cooking.
No, not at all.
She worked multiple jobs and came home and cooked every day.
Wow.
That shit, but I saw that growing up. So that's my superhero. Yeah. And I feel like I there's nothing I can't do because I seen her do it.
Right.
So that's where the drive came from as far as doing that.
No, I love hearing that. I mean, whether it's your mom, a family member, like, someone's going to drive you. And it's great that, that's those passions kind of transfer to you. That's what you do now.
I was raised by queens. I'm going to say that too, because my granny is a queen as well.
Yes.
And of course, my dad, love him, great relationship. And he's taught me so much as well, but I seen them, and being it as a woman women don't get credit like men do. Right. So that's what sparked it and led on to me working those multiple jobs and setting me up for what I thought was going to be an easy road after graduation. So I did all of that.
Yeah. So you're doing all these multiple things. You're part of a fraternity. You're studying. You're working as a college rep with Sony. You're working the college station, the radio station. You're trying to land that job. So is in your mind, like, are you trying to like, oh, I'm going to leave St. Louis? Or is it more so like, I want to make it big out here?
Well, being in St. Louis and transitioning to leaving St. Louis is where I developed this thing where it's still in my Instagram bio to this day, which is big fish, big pond. Right. Instead of, big fish, small pond, small fish, big pond, whatever. I want to be a big fish in a big pond. So my first plane flight ever was to come to New York on Sony's dime, because they used to fly us up. It was like October 21st, 2012, literally. Wow. So that was my first time on a flight. We went up to CMJ, which I'm sure everybody in the music industry is familiar with. And that was my first taste of New York. And I was like, oh, I'm coming back. I'm going to be back. So I didn't really have an idea of staying in St. Louis once I got a taste of what it was like being outside of it. Yeah. Which I think everybody should at least once leave their home. So I didn't think that I was going to stay there after I got exposed to something different.
Right. And you're like, obviously towards your senior year, and then do you start like applying? I mean, do you start reaching out to Sony? Like, where's that transition?
Oh man. So I learned a lot after the fact. Hindsight is 20/20. So of course I started to, hey, when should I start reaching out to, apply for jobs? Excuse me. And at the time I thought I had it. I was like, yo, I'm in radio, I'm in film, I'm in television, I'm in music. Who gonna turn me down? I'm the shit. Hire me, motherfucker. Like, and I just knew that was gonna be the vibes, and it was not the vibes.
Total opposite.
So, of course, I was reaching out to managers and trying to see, what else can I do better to position myself? Are there any opportunities? Right. And you'll get the advice of like, yo, what do you want to do? And I used to just be like, marketing. my degree was in marketing.
Yeah.
So I was just asking those questions and getting guidance like, yo, what type of marketing you want to do? It's like product management. It's tour marketing.
Yeah.
Like what area of marketing? So I had to sit down and think about that. But I was definitely reaching out to Sony more than anything as my way in, because I thought that was gonna be my way in. Like I'm like, yo, I'm already in company. So
yeah.
And I was begging. I was like, hey, could I stay on a little longer? Because I didn't have a job after graduation. I was applying like crazy.
Yeah.
And no interviews, nothing. And they let me stay on extended longer and till it eventually ran out. Like time ran out.
Wow.
Of while I was there. And it turned into what I like to deem an accidental gap year. Like it was, because I wanted a job. I just couldn't get it. And I started to think that I wasn't good enough. And then you start to have those things like, yo, man, did I really not go hard enough? Could I went harder? Could I have went harder? You know what I'm saying? You start to think like that. And in hindsight, to be quite frank, I probably could have went harder. Like I did have like 7 to 8 universities that I used to market to, but maybe I could have did more. So you start to sit with that stuff. And it did bother me. It was one time what they do is when you graduate, like they invite kind of like their top reps to come up to New York, basically after the program was over. And then, I was like, well, damn, I didn't get a call. I'm like, maybe they're not doing it this year. And then I remember seeing a few of my peers in New York at one time, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Damn.
Yeah.
It was shit. Maybe I didn't do what I needed to do or prove myself enough. So that kind of was the wake-up call for me to try to pivot and realize that you don't have to do this shit your own. You have to do it a different way.
Right.
And that's what led to me transitioning out of St. Louis.
Yeah. So figuring that out, like, to your point, like, big fish, small pond, it was for a lot of people, we go through this, it becomes a humbling moment. You're at the peak of what you're doing, but people don't realize that's just like one step to the ladder.
Oh, I wasn't shit.
Yeah.
That flimsy ass business card I had, that ain't shit. The box still sitting there. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying.
Classic, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be vintage one day.
Vintage. No, people can remember that.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I think that these are the moments where, one, either you don't do anything about it, or you actually learn from that and you're like, hey, you become even more hungrier.
Yeah. And that's brought me to the process of sink or swim. And that's how my life is from now on moving forward.
Right.
So essentially what that time period consisted of, this accidental gap year, was me, talking to people, trying to figure out ways to get into the industry. And at the time, I was still trying to network vertically instead of horizontally. Like,
right, not to your peers.
Your peers are, and I'm gonna say this: your peers are essential. Like, y'all are the ones coming up. Like, you need to be in touch with them. Like,
connect with your peers.
Y'all need to be tight. You know what I'm saying? Because you hear these stories of all the moguls. I watched so many interviews, and they knew each other since they was like in high school and in college and stuff.
You come up together.
You come up together, so it's important. So at the time, I was networking to people who were in, or reaching out to people who are in positions that I wanted to be in. Sometimes I got good responses. Sometimes I didn't. There were times where I would call a lot and never get a response. And those times in that accidental gap year was very. It was gut-wrenching. It was a reality check. But what started to help definitely was when I switched to networking horizontally, because I was at dead-end jobs. Like I was in the middle of Sam's Club. I don't know if y'all call it Sam's Club up here.
Yeah, there's Sam's Club.
My ass was giving out samples with a college degree of some bum-ass drink that I don't even know.
There's nothing against that. But I get it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Let me be politically correct. Anybody who does that, y'all not bums. But that's how I felt at the time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm dealing with secret shoppers and shit.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I told people. Like, this room is probably like one of the few people who knew I was doing that job at the time.
Really?
Yeah, it's
That's
embarrassing.
crazy.
Like I got like a Southern, we're Midwestern, but we have Southern traditions. So certain stuff you keep in the house. And that's one of the things that I would not be telling nobody that I did. But at the time I was doing that, and it eventually led to me working, getting a job at a concert and event center, because that was the only thing I could do to stay
related to music,
close to music. So at that time, I developed some few skills there and live experience, things of that nature. So the concerts with, Monica, the Shantae Moores, it was real R&B, but then you had the Jeezys, the Gucci's that would come through at the concert and event center. And there's a lot of funny stories with that. But so at the time, I was just working there, but it didn't serve what I needed. And I remember sitting at that desk in the ticket office, and that's kind of where the epiphany hit. Like I got to move.
Yeah,
like I can't. There's nothing else here that's going to get me to the point where I want to get to, and I came up with a random ass idea of just enrolling back in school. And why? Wow. Music has definitely steered my life, and if anybody knows who's one of my favorite rappers, J. Cole, his story, like he moved to New York just trying to get a deal. Right. And in my sense, I moved to New York just trying to get a job. Like literally, and I used school as a place for me to have a safety net. I'm gonna have this motherfucking meal plan. I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna stay in this dorm, and I'm gonna look for a job. Just give me a place to eat and sleep. And a refund check. It's lit. It's a wrap. So I literally enrolled in schools. There was a few of them, and I was lazy. Like, and what I mean by this is like I didn't want to do the whole test. What is it? The test you have to take to go to certain schools?
Like is it
SAT, all of that?
Yeah.
I did the ACT obviously, but fuck that. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, what schools can get me, there where I don't have to take no test. They have a strong media program, and I enrolled in quite a few schools, but the school that stuck out to me was the new school. A lot of people may know it as Parsons, but the new school is what stuck out to me. And I remember getting the confirmation that I was enrolled in the school. Wow. And literally, I was out. Like, it was very short time, like maybe like 10 days, like, you know what I mean? And I was out. Like, I'm
gone.
Yeah. I told family, I told friends, I sold my car because I needed some money, obviously, to move up there. And I moved. It was a rash decision. A rash decision to do that. And anybody who has made that step, everything is traumatic.
It's so scary.
Yeah, it's traumatic making that move. Like, I'll give you actually two things to not take up too much time on this question, but three. To not take up too much time on this question. I remember quitting the jobs that I was working to move and telling those people. One in particular was the radio station, because at the time I was there about going on 3 years now. And let me also say one thing, I am a little stubborn. So in between that time, I don't want to make it seem like I wasn't offered other jobs. Right. They just weren't in music and I didn't take them. Yeah. Like my mom was in insurance. I got offered a job there. I got offered a job as a marketing manager at a gospel magazine. Right. I'm too ratchet. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Certain stuff that I would not do.
Wasn't on brand.
And I told myself that decision. I probably made it harder for myself that I'm not working any job that doesn't have anything to do with what I want to do. So at that time, it led to me being broke a lot. But in particular, when I quit the radio station, I remember going into my manager's office at the time and talking to him about it and him giving me advice. And I cried. I cried in front of a grown man because it started to hit me that I'm moving. Like, a lot of people haven't seen me cry. It's not really one of the things that I do, but that moment it hit me. Right.
Leaving.
Yeah, I'm leaving. I'm really leaving. And the second, traumatic experience was, my mother's reaction when she took me to the airport, and she probably will be embarrassed about this. She held it together until it was time to get out that car and time for me to grab that bag and go in and give that last hug. Oh, she broke down. You know what I mean? She broke down.
That's tough.
It was a lot of traumatic stuff. Even me saying bye to my nieces, you know, when I left, that was traumatic. But I didn't cry. Didn't hit me. They were sad, and I seen it. You know, they're asking questions like, "You're leaving? You
Right.
go?" So that stuff does, you know, stick with you. But she broke down, and I was like, "All right, I thought it was over. Okay, we made it through. I looked at that ticket, and that motherfucker said one way. It didn't say round trip. It said one way. And I got through baggage. I got through all of that. I got on a plane. You know, it's time to cut your phone on airplane mode, and she sent me a very long text. And I don't even remember what it said, but I remember a line in there saying, like, "I'm crying so bad right now, I can't even see the words I'm writing." That's what she wrote to me.
Oh, man.
I broke down on the plane. I cried.
Oh, no.
You know what I'm saying? I was surprised that the little stewardess or whatever didn't walk by and be like, "Are you okay?" Yeah. So those were some things that definitely hit me, you know, while transitioning. It was a range of emotions, even from when I first landed. That's where I got motivated and hit the ground.
That's crazy. I mean, you know, just being with your family, you know, having that security blanket, because, you know, regardless of friends and everyone else, like your family is always, you know, for a lot of people, their foundation. So to move to like to a new city, a big ass city, one of 8 million.
Y'all crazy up here. No, I'm saying.
And just, you know, pursue something that you're so passionate about. Your passion just like supersedes everything else.
It does.
And that's crazy.
Yeah. And the way I got motivated, and another gym somebody told me never to do. So these names that I'm about to release they're my friends, to not name drop. So I don't really name drop where I get a lot of inspiration from. But I will say my brother Timothy Moore, that first day I landed, he just happened to be in New York at the same time. He's my fraternity brother. And he's like, "Yo, we finna just go to a fashion week event." He was plugged in before he even got here, right?
Really?
And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna drop my bags off." You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm pulling up. You know me, everybody in this room, I am super cool. I can talk to anybody. I can make friends so easy.
Right.
I get shy too. So we were in this room, and I don't know, it was just, you know, I know it was people who were connected and I wasn't.
Right.
So I was just in the corner on some social anxiety shit, to whereas he was working that room, and he's always been like that. Like, I mean, just going around talking to this person, giving them this business card. "Oh, you do this? Cool. Bye. Boom, boom." He introduced me to somebody that was in advertising, and it was just so easy. "Oh, yo, this is Trenton. You should talk to him. He just moved to New York." And me seeing him was like, "Oh, this is what I have to do in order for me to survive in this game." Like, all of us heard gyms all the time. We 100%. Just ignore them. Like, your network is your net worth. You know 100%. What I mean? Everybody hear the classic cliche gyms, but those are the ones.
It's true.
Those are the ones that's going to get you to where you need to go.
100%.
And I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, I know what I'm doing." That opportunity that slipped away at Sony ain't going away no more. Now that I'm here, I'm on a deadline. I put myself, whenever I need to achieve a goal, I put myself in situations where I have no choice but to sink or swim. And I had 2 years to graduate school. If I didn't get a job in those 2 years, I'm going back home.
Right.
I can't go back.
No.
I left. So, I seen him work that room, and that was the light for me of what I needed to do to get to my next steps.
Yeah, sometimes it's like looking at your peers that are successful, that are, you know, doing it, and going back to your point, just kind of learning from them. And new to the city, your frat brother, seeing him work the room, it's like, man, I got to do that. So, you know, obviously there's like that transition from St. Louis, being that guy, and then, you know, being humbled, you know, then you move from your family to like a new place, you know, very scary situation, but also very exciting at the same time.
Yes.
How do you, what do we fast track to BET? So like, you know, like how do you get to that point and just like, now I'm working for one of the biggest, you know, like media companies?
So, like I said, I had to realize that everything I did at home did not matter anymore. Like all of the connections I made, the big fish, small pond was gone. So literally, I utilized school for what it was for.
Right. Set you up.
They have alumni. You know what I mean?
They have alumni.
They do. Yes, they do career panels.
Yes.
They do all of that. So things that I utilized, there was a panel in my school where I met, I don't know if he cares about me saying his name, but I met a guy at BET, Trevor, and, he was super cool, and he worked at BET. And, at the time, I used to be like sitting in the corner at them panels and used to be like, oh my God, when's the right time to go talk? What should I say? Are they gonna like me? What if I'm coming on too strong? I had a million things going through my head, but I stepped up to him and basically got his email, and was like, I'm gonna shoot you my resume, blah blah blah, whatever. And I used to always just ask for critiques to my resume as a talking point, and most people look at it.
That's actually a really good.
Most people look
approach.
at it and they'll give you some feedback on it. So I met him, and then I went to another panel, which I won't say.
Okay.
For
Yes.
I guess competition purposes. But I went to another panel where I met someone else that worked at Viacom.
Okay.
Didn't really work at BET. And I got his information. Will you critique my resume?
Right.
You know what I mean? And did that. And while I was in grad school, I met another guy who was working in original programming at BET. Got his information. Will you critique my resume? And literally, they happened to, one in particular, show me why I am the way I am now. He didn't have to, but he was like, yo, pull up to the office. I'm like, what? Want me to come here? Pull up to the office, me? And a series of unfortunate events that seemed to work out. That day, I was late as hell to meet him, and it was not my fault. I'm still from St. Louis, so I'm thinking once you jump in the car, it's 20 minutes.
Right.
New York traffic?
Ooh, 3 times that.
I got off the cab at 34th Street, and at the time, BET was on 45th. I ran up the block, literally ran. I was running because I was so late. And I finally made it there, and he only had 5 minutes left. He put my calendar in for 30 minutes, and he only had 5 minutes left. And we got in there. He talked to me super quick. He was like, I want you to meet this person. She, does blah, blah, blah. She met, we talked, boom. He had a meeting. I had to get out. I remember walking out the building, looking back at the promotional posters for the Quad Show, which was a show on BET. Yeah. Taking a picture on my Snapchat, never posting it, and saying, I'm going to be back. That's all I said to myself. I never posted it.
Speaking of existence.
Yeah. So, I left. And from that period, I kept in touch with those people to where when there was time to apply for an internship, they was like, yo, you should apply. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just do it. Yeah. And it turns out that they recommended me. Yeah. So you had multiple people who recommended you for the internship. So I ended up going in and doing all the interviews and ended up getting hired, as an intern. So that was the start of me getting into BET.
No, you make a few great points. I mean, obviously you started building relationships. You approached it in a way where it didn't feel transactional. You actually asked for help, and people are always willing if it's, within that type of approach. Yeah,
it's two type of mentors, I would say, and I tell people this all the time. It's some people that just don't want anything from you. Like they're just going to help you, right? Because they're already established in their careers. It's some people where your relationships, you want to make sure you are an asset to them. Like even if it's just, yo, this music bubbling. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if this on your radar, but send it. Like that's good for people. And in exchange, they do the same for you, whether it's advice or refer you for positions. So those people didn't have to do it. And what someone told me, I can't remember who it was. So sorry for like not remembering who you were who gave me this gym. But like the people who are comfortable in their positions have no problem helping you. The people you're chasing,
great gem.
They're scared you're going to take the job.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So that's something that definitely stuck with me and why I try to remain open.
Yeah. I mean, for the audience, that's super important to understand that for the people that, to your point, are comfortable and, you know, they're always willing to like give you access because they're not worried about that.
Yeah. I tell people pull up to the office all the time. Man.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. So for a lot of our guests, you know, we going back to the theme of it, lessons learned. Obviously this is only the beginning of your career, you know, even, you know, from all the things that you experienced, what would be one, or probably like the biggest lesson learned that you want to probably like you want to kind of advise for the audience?
Well, I'm going to shoot through it real quick. Cause when I first got in as an intern, it was the same thing at Sony. I was like, I can't let this time run out. It's only a semester. I gotta make this shit work. I gotta stay here. So I did all of the things that you should do. So some gyms for people who are interning, make sure you say hi to everybody.
Yes.
Make sure you make yourself available. The kitchen is the area where you should be. You wanna know why? Everybody has to go to the kitchen.
Yes.
So when you have that time, you get to meet everybody, probably even the president, the vice president. You get to meet people in that area. And you know, one of the things somebody told me when I was an intern, like, yo, you're always smiling. You're always saying hi. You're always asking, does anyone need help?
Body language. Yeah. Being proactive.
And those are the things that'll keep you around. So what ended up happening was that time started winding down to the end of that internship at the time. And I started panicking. I started setting up them one-on-one meetings. I started begging, please don't let me go. Keep me here, extend. And the unfortunate thing that happens at companies is layoffs.
Right.
So the family that I built there, they laid off the whole damn department essentially.
Crazy.
And, you know, that's still my family to this day.
Yeah.
You know, love them. All of them look out for me, big brothers and big sisters.
Yeah.
And at that time, it turned out to be one unfortunate but a blessing in disguise. Because what happened was, you know, sometimes they don't think everything out. So y'all let all them people go.
Right.
But who gonna do their job?
I mean,
I learned every position, everything. You know what I mean? And I was working well above what I was getting paid.
Wow.
Talking pennies for learning how to do stuff because I had to make myself, you know,
add
worthy.
Value. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I learned all those positions. As they continue to let people go, I acquired more skills. And from there, I got to rise through the ranks of becoming an assistant and moving up from there to where I am now. So the lesson behind it was like I could not let time escape me like it did at Sony. And you got to stay around.
Right.
So that's one thing that I would say was a lesson that really stuck with me. Like the process of not getting that job at Sony in St. Louis. In the process of putting myself on the timeline up here, like I didn't even think I was gonna graduate college. I was like, a master's degree, fuck out of here. I'm trying to get a motherfucking job. You know what I'm saying? And I ended up graduating with my degree and getting a job.
Wow.
And, you know, being blessed to have a impact on the culture on such an iconic brand. You know, I am proud to say that I have my hand in a lot of important events and a lot of important things that happen in the culture.
You do.
And it's still sometimes like, damn.
You gotta pitch yourself.
You from St. Louis, bro? Like, you don't remember watching Rap City? That 50 Cent freestyle in the basement. Oh, what about that time when Aaliyah was on 106 in Park? You remember the time Genuine was breakdancing out the bed? the little hospital thing on 106 in Park? Cedar's World, all of that stuff was from my childhood, hits from the streets, and being able to work here now and push the culture forward and meet so many great people like yourself in this industry. Like, and one thing I want to say, the people that you see on the come up are definitely going to be your peers, man. They're going to be your riders. Like those people that were working at Sony with me, whether they were in California and I was in St. Louis or Oregon or Chicago at the time or Atlanta or Denver, they still my people. And now when I see them at industry events, we be like, yo,
that's family.
We here, you know what I'm saying? We didn't think we was gonna be here, but we here now.
Right.
And we're making significant strides in the culture.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, man. Trey, man, this episode was lots of laughs, a lot of stories. It's really great to obviously for the audience really to listen to your journey and your how you got started. Super excited to share this, but shout out to Trenton again. Episode 3, the L's, lessons learned. We'll be coming out with new episodes soon, so stay tuned.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right.